comprehensive immigration reform, another of President Obama's campaign promises. Ray Suarez has that.
They came from across the nation, from Arizona, Illinois, New York, and Pennsylvania, to implore the president and Congress to reform the country's immigration laws.
It needs to be done now, today. Not tomorrow, not the next year. It must be taken care of today.
Tens of thousands of frustrated immigrants and activists turned out, while Congress focused on passing a health care reform act. The bulk of the protesters were Hispanic, but they were joined by immigrants from the Caribbean, Africa, and Asia. With chants of President Obama's campaign slogan, "Yes, we can," in Spanish and English, they demanded the president's focus now shift to immigration.
He broke his promise. I know he's got a lot in his head right now, and I know he's trying to fight for a health reform, but immigration reform wasn't his agenda too.
That reform has been bitterly fought out in Congress. The most recent attempt, supported by former President George W. Bush, was defeated in 2007 after opponents said the amnesty programs rewarded illegal immigrants. President Obama benefited from a huge turnout of Latinos in the 2008 election, drawn by his promise to deliver immigration reform. Nearly 2 out of 3 voted for him.
We need a president who isn't going to walk away from something as important as comprehensive reform when it becomes
But in the 14 months since taking office, the president's priorities shifted, focusing instead on health care and financial reform. Manuel Sepulveda from Rochester, New York, said it's time to remind the president of his campaign promises.
Next election come and nothing is done about it, then we're going to take a hard look at, whether we're going to send him back to Washington or not.
There's been reform in the past few weeks. Democratic Senator Charles Schumer and Republican Lindsey Graham of South Carolina crafted a draft reform proposal. But even Senator Graham feels the administration is not pushed hard enough.
This idea that this administration's been unwavering on immigration reform is just political spin, and the people at the rally ought to know that.
For the nation's estimated 11 million illegal immigrants, the Schumer-Graham proposal would allow a path to legalization. Illegal immigrants would admit to breaking the law to stay in the U.S., pay fines, and perform community service. They also need to pass background checks and show proficiency in English. Plus, the plan would require all U.S. workers, both citizens and immigrants, to obtain fraud-proof Social Security cards with a biometric identifier. There would be a zero-tolerance policy for illegal immigrants who commit crimes, and it allow immigrants to enter the country once the economy recovers. Democratic Congressman Luis Gutierrez of Illinois is the Congressional Hispanic Caucus's point man and a close ally of the Obama administration will keep its promise to turn to immigration reform now that the health care fight is largely over, even if the politics are difficult after the bruising health care battle.
There's always an excuse. There's always a reason. When things were good and stock market was up, there was a reason. Now the stock market's down, unemployment's up, there's another reason. My job, right? My priority is to keep this moving forward. I can't take a break. I can't take a time out. I can't take a sabbatical because things are tough.
But Republican Representative Duncan Hunter, whose Southern California district borders Mexico, said he and GOP colleagues are not at all interested in taking up immigration this year.
It is not pressing right now, and I don't think that it should be pressing. I think we need to make sure that our southern border is secure, and we ought to work on the economy right now, work on national security, and take this up when America's back on its feet economically again.
Along with the tens of thousands on the National Mall, there were also immigration rallies yesterday in other cities across the country. We get more on the prospects for reform from Ali Noorani, the executive director of the National Immigration Forum, and Jan Ting, a former assistant commissioner at the Immigration and Naturalization Service during President George H.W. Bush's administration. He now teaches at Temple University's Beasley School of Law. Ali Noorani, we've just come through.
They put more than they did of the other people they interviewed at the thing. Can immigration reform, a huge undertaking,
And that was in the headings,
be
right?
done by the 2010 midterms?
Absolutely. This is the only issue on the table at this moment in time that has a history of bipartisan leadership from the days of President Reagan to Senators Kennedy and McCain to today, Senators Schumer and Graham. It is the only issue with bipartisan leadership, the only issue that has a record of votes both from Democrats and Republicans, and the country is starving for a bipartisan breakthrough like immigration reform that serves our interests.
What if you come out again?
Fixes our, is a fundamental part to fixing our economy.
Okay.